friends will also find the methods taught for handling anger to be useful, even though they may not agree with me theologically. I have taught the concepts in this book to both secular and religious audiences with equally effective results. As for my own experience, I grew up with poor modeling of anger. Often I could sense tension in the air at home, and there was seldom constructive communication during conflicts. Occasionally, a strong, angry remark would be made, followed by a cold war. I knew that what I saw couldn't be the solution to handling anger, and I have since learned and taught what I can about how to constructively handle anger. The problems and solutions that I discuss in the following pages are those that I have personally dealt with in my own life and have seen in the lives of innumerable patients. This book comes not only out of a theoretical framework, but out of practical experience, both personal and professional. I can gladly say over time I have seen the solutions prove very effective in people's lives. All the examples used in this book are real, but names and incidental features have been altered sufficiently to preserve the privacy of the individuals involved. I greatly appreciate the tremendous assistance in typing and editing by my wife Betty and my niece Lynn Carlson. Dwight L. Carlson. 1. Misconceptions about anger. Jan is an attractive college sophomore who stood several months ago on top of the Vincent Thomas Bridge in San Pedro, California, and seriously contemplated jumping the equivalent of 18 stories to her death. Several weeks ago, she attempted suicide by taking an overdose of pills. She sat in my office, ready for this week's psychotherapy session. She started by telling me about an event that happened Thursday afternoon. Jan said she felt funny and confused and walked aimlessly around the campus and the adjacent shopping mall. This confusion lasted for several hours, and then she returned to her dorm and felt better. "That was it," she said. "That's all." "You mean you had this episode of aimless confusion for several hours, and that's what was troubling you?" I asked. "Yes," she said. I waited for more, but all I got was silence. I asked about further feelings or anything else that might have happened that day. Still, she came up with nothing. She had had no other feelings, and nothing unusual had happened during the 24 hours prior to her episode. Already 20 minutes of the session had passed, and we seemed to be making little progress. Eventually I asked, "What do you normally do on Thursday afternoon around 2:30? She replied that she normally went to her chemistry class. "So you didn't attend class Thursday?" I questioned. "No," she answered. When I asked her why, she didn't seem to know. Because I knew that Jan was very conscientious and that this was highly unusual behavior for her, I questioned her further. Eventually, I found out that in the previous chemistry class, her lab partner had had trouble understanding the instructions, so Jan tried to help by quietly explaining them. But the instructor heard the whispering and snapped, "Be quiet, Jan." Jan instantly quieted down and didn't say another word the rest of the class. When I asked her how she felt about the instructor's remark, she at first denied having any reaction or feeling anything. But as I probed further and pointed out that there must have been a powerful reason why she didn't attend class, she finally was able to get in touch with a slight feeling of irritation at her lab partner and her teacher. You see, one of Jan's basic problems is that she is a very sensitive person who has always been uncomfortable with feelings of anger. When she became a Christian, she was taught that anger is sin. Therefore, she progressively hid from herself her own feelings of irritation and anger. This powerful source of energy had become repressed to such a degree that she literally felt nothing. Even when she was ready to jump off the bridge, she said she felt numb. When people insulted her, she wouldn't feel hurt or angry, but on the other hand, when something good happened, she wasn't able to feel happy either. Jan illustrates misconception number 1 that many people have about anger. If you don't look, feel, or seem angry, you don't have an anger problem. Joseph Cook, a missionary to Thailand, exemplifies another misconception people have about anger. In his book, Free for the Taking, he says, "Squelching our feelings never pays. In fact, it's rather like